Thank you for joining us. Welcome to LumioseStation.
What's up, LumioseStation, and welcome back to another episode of the Pokémon DataDex with me, TheOneIntegral. Last week we were covering Garchomp and Mega Garchomp, and I asked you guys to vote for, this week's Pokemon, another Dragon type, either Dragonite or Salamence, and the winner, it's pretty close, it's a fairly close vote. It was actually Dragonite in the end. Dragonite is slightly more popular than Salamence, so that's what came out as the winner in the end. So I'm covering Dragonite this week. We might cover Salamence in the future, we shall just have to see. As for next week's episode, to sort of celebrate, or just sort of to link in with Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire being revealed a week or two ago, I'm going to be covering either Sceptile or Swampert in the next episode. Obviously Blaziken's got a Mega, so I have to cover that sort of another time. But either Sceptile or Swampert. So if you want to see Sceptile, guys, be sure to put Sceptile in the comment section. If you want to see Swampert, be sure to put Swampert in the comment section. And next week I will look at whichever one has the most votes. So for now, let's get on and look at Dragonite, shall we? So, Dragonite, it's a Dragon Flying type, number 149 in the National Pokédex, and also number 147 in the Mountain Kalos Pokédex. It's the Dragon Pokemon because it's the original dragon, so kind of makes sense how it's just called the Dragon Pokemon. Dragonite is 7 foot 3 inches tall, or 2.2 meters tall, so it's pretty large, and weighs 463 pounds or 210 kilograms, so it's reasonably heavy as well. It's in the Water 1 and Dragon Egg groups, and the male-female split is equal 50% either way, so, there's no real sort of weight on one certain gender for Dragonite. Dratini will evolve into Dragonair starting level 30, and then Dragonair evolves into Dragonite starting level 55. Like most dragons, fairly high evolving, so you have to sort of do a lot of training to get to your Dragonite. Then looking at Dragonite's base stats, we can see, taking a quick look, it has a fairly high attack stat, see here. Special attack is pretty high as well, and special defense is the same as special attack, which is pretty decently high, and the other stats, health points, defense, and speed, they're not amazing, but they are fairly decent, health points of 91, defense 95, and speed 80, so it's not an amazingly fast Pokemon, but it can be reasonably fast if invested in EVs and such. So, first up, looking at Dragonite's typing. Being a Dragon Flying type, it has a good few resistances, a good few weaknesses. So, resistances, it resists grass, it actually resists grass 4 times, guys, so bear that in mind. It resists fire, water, fighting, fighting and bug also, all half times. So, it has real good resistance against grass, so switching in on a grass type attack is pretty safe. And same with the others, fire, water, fighting, bug, whatever. They're pretty good switches. Then we have its weaknesses, which are Rock, Ice, Dragon, and Fairy types. Bearing in mind, Ice, it's 4 times weak to, so you really don't want to be switching in on an Ice Beam or an Ice Shard or whatever, because that will completely destroy you. Being a Flying type, it's immune to Ground type moves, and it takes neutral from all the other types, being Normal, Flying, Poison, Ghost, Electric, Psychic, Dark, and Steel. Obviously, Electric is it cancels out. It's super effective against the Flying type, but it's resisted by the Dragon type, so it's goes neutral overall. So that's the typing for Dragonite. It's a reasonably good typing. Obviously, the 4 times weakness to Ice isn't brilliant, especially with Ice Shard being in there, as well as Ice Beam, which is a pretty common move. So you really have to watch out with Dragonite, but it's not all that bad. Dragonite has 2 abilities available to it. One of them is much more useful than the other. The first one being Inner Focus, which protects the Pokemon from flinching. This is the least useful ability because all it does is protect from flinching. That's going to be helpful not that often, there's not a huge amount of moves that cause flinching. Maybe with Togekiss, Air Slash there, other stuff like, Iron Head, stuff like that. But they're not too common, those moves, and obviously then the flinch isn't always going to come in. So it's not like it's just, you could get lucky and not have the flinch anyway, so Inner Focus isn't amazingly useful. However, its hidden ability, which is Multiscale, is amazingly useful. It reduces the damage the Pokemon takes when its health points is full. So we can send Dragonite out and it's going to take, I think, 50% damage of half damage of what it usually would take if it's at full health. And this is a really good thing, especially with one of the sets we're going to look at later on. It really helps Dragonite just sort of work it and stuff like that. We'll look more of it later on when I can explain how the hidden ability can be used sort of more to effect. Then on to Dragonite's highlighted moves, starting off with Dragon Tail level 33, powerful move. Dragon Tail is actually the one that sort of sends Pokemon out of battle as well, so it can be used to stop people setting up. It can just be used as a simple, if you've got Stealth Rocks or Spike set up on the opposite side, you can just Dragon Tail Pokemon in and out if you really want to be that guy. See how that works. But yeah, it's a pretty strong Dragon move. Its accuracy isn't 100%, so that's the only thing bad about it, really. Then level 61 learns Dragon Dance. Obviously that's going to raise your attack and your speed, and it's a really quite good move, especially with some of the sets we're going to have. And you know, once Dragonite's got a couple Dragon Dances up, it's pretty darn powerful. Level 67 learns Outrage. That's one of the more powerful moves it can learn, at least physical, for Dragon types. It can learn Draco Meteor. I've not included it on this list because we're mainly looking at physical sets for Dragonite here. You can run a mix or a special Dragonite, it's just not as effective as the physical sets overall. But Outrage is really strong. Obviously it carries on for 2 or 3 turns, so it can be good in some situations, but in some it can sort of be less good. I'll talk more about that, obviously, when we look at the sets in a minute. Then, 2 moves it can learn via heart scale, or, you know, just learns. So you have to go to the move tutor and get the heart scale and such. Fire Punch and Thunder Punch, obviously a fire type move and an electric type move, giving you a bit more coverage. Fire type's going to help against maybe ice types you're not going to be able to cover with dragon type moves, or steel types, because steel's going to resist dragons, stuff like that. And obviously the Thunder Punch is going to help against maybe water types or flying types, just to get the super effective move off there. Okay, onto the TMs now. TM02, Dragon Claw, powerful Dragon type move again. I think it's pretty much the same power as Dragon Tail, or a bit higher power actually. Doesn't have the chance to send them out of battle, it's just a basic attacking move. But Dragon Claw is really powerful. Not as powerful as Outrage, but obviously Outrage, as I said already, has the 2 free turns, sort of you're locked into it, whereas Dragon Claw, you're not locked into it. TM19, you can learn Roost. This is going to be very helpful to use with the hidden ability Multiscale to allow you to actually heal some health points up and get to full and whatnot. Again, I'll talk about more of that in a minute. TM28 Earthquake, as we know, but Earthquake is a very common move in the competitive gameplay world, whatever, and that's obviously going to give you some more coverage against electric types, against rock types, just anything really. Bit more super effective coverage there. Then, via Egg move, we can learn Extreme Speed, or one of the Egg moves it can learn is Extreme Speed. This is the most helpful Egg move there is, and Extreme Speed is really it's really powerful, and obviously you get the priority off on it too. So it can be really good against Pokemon that necessarily, like Greninja's going to outspeed you, and it's going to be able to hit you with an Ice Beam. Whereas Extreme Speed, if you've got, you know, maybe a Dragon Dance up, Extreme Speed is just going to take out Greninja in one hit, I'm pretty sure. So it's really good for Pokemon that, you know, would outspeed you and get some decent damage off on you otherwise. Then we got one move here via transfer from black to white 2, or black and white and whatnot, which is Iron Head, which obviously is a tutor move from those games. Iron Head being a powerful steel type move, not 100% accuracy, but it can flinch, and this is mainly for coverage on fairy types if you needed it. So it's not going to be helpful against, because you got Earthquake for rock types. You know, Iron Head's going to be not helpful for many other types than that. But you're just carrying it for fairy types there. So now we can move on to looking at the Wi-Fi setups for Dragonite. First set we're looking at is a choice band set. We're moving on to these first 2 sets are ones from previous generations that work quite well then, and obviously can be applied to X and Y as well. And the last 2 are ones that can be used in X and Y only, and are really quite powerful there. Okay. So this first one, as I said, is a choice band setup. Moveset is going to be Outrage or Dragon Claw. Got the Extreme Speed, got the Earthquake, and got the Fire Punch as well. Ability for all these sets is Multiscale because, as I said, mentioned already, it's a lot more useful than in a Focus. Nature is Adamant for this one, and obviously held item choice band. EVs are maximum attack, maximum speed that rest in health points. Okay, so obviously the choice band is going to lock you into the move you choose, which is why I've given Outrage or Dragon Claw as a choice. Because if you select Outrage and use one move, you take out a Pokemon for example, and say they switch in a fairy type, you're locked into Outrage, so what you're going to do is you're going to try and attack them again. It's not going to affect them, and they're going to get pretty much a free turn to do whatever they want before, obviously if you're choice banding you have to switch out anyway. Whereas if you're using Dragon Claw, obviously you have to switch out, but at least you don't get, you don't get the extra turn just to hit you for Moonblast or whatever, because that, especially with multi-scale, if you're at full health points, is really going to reduce Dragonite's effectiveness. So that's sort of what you want to bear in mind there. Extreme Speed, you know, sort of mentioned just now, it's just a really powerful move. Choice Band as well is going to choice band Extreme Speed, you know, that's paired with the Adamant Nature, because obviously you don't necessarily need the Jolly Nature if you're using Extreme Speed. It's going to do some decent damage to any Pokemon that doesn't resist normal type moves. Then we have Earthquake and Fire Punch, just coverage moves really. Fire Punch for the Steel types, Earthquake for Steel types as well, unless they have Levitate. And obviously Earthquake can just hit Pokemon like Fire types and everything like that. So really you've got a good choice here. Ability, don't need to talk about. Nature, Adamant, don't really need to talk about as well, because all we're doing here is going for power. Especially if you've got full health points, you're definitely going to be able to survive an attack, so you don't really need the speed straight off the bat. And EVs here, maximum attack and speed, and the rest in health points are just sort of you know, they're just mediocre. One thing to point out and to sort of recommend for you, any of you guys you look at use Dragonite, any of these sets really, you want to really be running a rapid spinner, because you don't want your opponent setting up some stealth rocks, and because if they set stealth rocks up, you're going to switch your Dragonite in, you're going to get some damage from the stealth rocks, and you're not going to be at full health anymore, and that's really going to just completely make it's going to make multi-scale completely useless. So you really need to run a rapid spinner to get rid of any stealth rocks that get set up. Okay, that's one thing I was going to throw out there. But I think that's pretty much it for the choice band set. It's really just coming in, using a move if you need to. You could probably predict, especially if you're using, you know, it's just a normal type and you're going to use Dragon Claw on it. It might be good to predict a switch there, and you go for a different move like Extreme Speed or Earthquake or Fire Punch or whatever, rather than going for the Dragon type move and then just kind of switch out straight away, sort of thing. Next set, this is a generic set from or Dragon Dance generic set from previous generations. We have Outrage or Dragon Claw again, Dragon Dance, and then we have Earthquake, Roost or Extreme Speed, and then we have Fire Punch last. Ability, multi-scale, nature this time is Adamant or Jolly, it's up to you really. Held item is a Lumberry or Leftovers, and EV's maximum attack and speed, and the rest in special defense. So, moveset here, obviously Outrage Dragon Claw again is really just so, you know, you can have the choice. Obviously, Outrage has the power, but obviously you're going to get locked into the move, and then a Fairy type might come out. It depends what they have on the opposing team. So, really, if they've got a Fairy type on the opposing team, you want to hold off using Outrage and go for your other moves if you've got Outrage on, of course. Dragon Dance is what we're really focusing on this set here. It is a Dragon Dance set, and that's going to work nicely with a Lumberry and Leftovers. Leftovers because that's going to help you get some health points back, and obviously if you can stall out quite enough, you might be able to get your health points back up to full and then get your multi-scale to activate again. The Lumberry is because Dragonite tends to get burnt a lot, so that's one thing you need to watch out for there. Obviously if Dragonite gets burnt, it's going to nerf its power a decent amount, so that's not very preferred. So then, Fire Punch, Earthquake, Roost, Extreme Speed. Fire Punch, Earthquake again, coverage, Extreme Speed if you need the speed, especially if you're running an Adamant one. Roost I've put here because you might want to get your health points back up to full to activate the multi-scale. That's what I always like having on. And the way I usually work a Dragonite, or try to work Dragonite, is I switch it in on a Pokemon that is gonna... you're gonna resist the move, sort of thing. That's obviously not gonna do any damage with multi-scale up, especially if you're resisting it. And then obviously, if you need to, you can Roost Up, get the multi-scale back. If you can predict a switch out to a Pokemon, you can get a free Roost Up, get back to your multi-scale, and even if they're going to hit you with a super effective attack, you're still not going to do enough to take you out most likely. So that's what I like carrying Roost on. Which move to get rid of out of Earthquake, Fire Punch, Extreme Speed for Roost? I would probably say maybe Fire Punch, because Earthquake can hit most Steel types. It's only the Steel types that have Levitate you can't really hit, and obviously if that's the case you don't really want to stay in anyway. Then, not much else to say really for this set, you know, maximum attack, maximum speed, maximum special, or rest in special defense, rather not maximum, just so you know, special defense is sort of your better defense, so you're going to be better special defensive than physically defensive. Ability, multi-scale, nature, adamant, or jolly. Held item, mentioned those already. Leftovers is going to help you get some health points back, especially if you start sweeping through their team. And Lumberry is going to help if you get burnt, because Dragonite does like to get burnt a lot. But really that's how you use this set. You go in, set a Dragon Dance or two up. If you got Roost, maybe use that, then to get back to full health points, and then sort of just start sweeping through your team with a Dragon Claw or a Fire Punch or an Earthquake or whatever you're carrying on this Dragonite. Next up, we're on to the sets for the X and Y sets now, featuring two items that were introduced in X and Y. So the moveset for this one, first off, is Outrage or Dragon Claw, then Dragon Dance, like last time, and they also have a choice of 5 different moves: Earthquake, Roost, Extreme Speed, Iron Head, or Thunder Punch, and then we have Fire Punch at the end. Ability is multi-scale, nature is adamant or jolly, held item this time is a weakness policy, and we'll talk about that in a second, EV's maximum attack speed, and the rest in health points. First up, looking at the moveset, obviously Outrage or Dragon Claw is going to be your stab move. That's going to be very good. I recommend Dragon Claw because you don't want to get stuck in Outrage, as I mentioned several times already, but you can use Outrage if you're hoping for no fairies on the opposing team. Then we have Dragon Dance. That's going to help you get boosts up and really just sort of get higher speed and wreck lives. Then we have a choice of 5 different moves. Well, we have Fire Punch at the bottom. You definitely want to keep Fire Punch because that's going to help you against your Steel types, or all Steel types, or majority of Steel types at least. And then your last choice, I like running Roost because I like to switch in on attack I can resist. Roost Up, this is hard to explain. It's depending on the opponent's Pokemon. Say they're using a Greninja. Say I have a Hippopotas out. I don't know, Hippowdon rather. so I can predict they're going to go for a Grass Knot if they're carrying a Grass Knot. So I can switch out to my Dragonite. Dragonite's going to resist that 4 times, and it's not going to do any damage at all. So then I'm going to Roost up. It doesn't really help for Greninja. Okay, Greninja's not a brilliant example, but the idea is switching on a move you're going to take not much damage from, then go for the Roost and get back to full health points. They're going to hit you with a super effective attack, your multi-scales are going to activate and that's going to reduce the damage that does, but your weakness policy is then going to activate and boost your attack and your special attack by 2 times, I'm pretty sure, which is pretty decent. That's why I like running Roost on there. Alternatively, you could just use Dragonite in a case of where you just send it out after Pokemon's fainted rather than try to switch him, and that would work quite just as well. And obviously then you could keep your Roost off and use maybe, I don't know, Extreme Speed. Extreme Speed might be helpful once you got your attack boost. If they send in a fast Pokemon like Greninja, as I said, you would definitely want to be carrying Extreme Speed to try and take that thing out before it can get an Ice Beam off on you and whatnot. Nature, Adamant or Jolly, depends if you're running Extreme Speed. If you're running Extreme Speed, you may as well go for the Adamant Nature, so you can, because you've got a priority move anyway, and that's going to do decent damage. If you're not running Extreme Speed, you could think about Jolly Nature. It's really just up to you on that front. And then there's not much else to say. EVs, maximum attack and speed, it's just decent default EVs. Not much else to say about those. And the rest in health points, because just to give you a bit more bulk and health points on what not. So, on to the final set now for Dragonite. We have, again, another set linked to X and Y with a new item. So, moveset here is Outrage or Dragon Claw again, then we have Extreme Speed or Earthquake, then Iron Head or Thunder Punch, and finally Fire Punch. Ability this time is multi-scale. Nature is actually careful because we're using it with an Assault Vest, hence the held item there. EVs are maximum health points, maximum special defense, and the rest in defense. So, as you guys know, Assault Vest boosts your special defense, but doesn't allow you to use any support moves, so you have to use attacking moves straight off. That's why there's no Roost. If we could use Roost with Assault Vest, I would definitely put it on because it would be a lot more helpful. Whereas we don't actually have any health point restoration effects, techniques, whatever here. There's no way to get health points back unless we use sort of like Espeon or not Espeon, some Wish, sort of Wisher or something like that. So, moveset, again, Outrage or Dragon Claw choice, I recommend Dragon Claw. Then we have the Extreme Speed or the Earthquake. Extreme Speed it's going to be okay. It's really up to you what you want here. There's not a huge amount of choice. If you're going to run Fire Punch and Extreme Speed, I'd recommend Iron Head for the coverage of rock types maybe, unless you do have Dragon Claw, it's not going to be resisted anyway. And then we have Thunder Punch there, which could be for water, flying, anything like that. Nature is careful because that's going to help boost your special defense, make you a real special defensive tank. Defense is not so much, but it's going to be reasonably decent anyway. Obviously, multi-scale is going to help out for the first move because Assault Vest, multi-scale, it's going to do absolutely nothing to you. So you're really going to be able to tank through some hits and get some decent damage off with Dragonite in this case, So guys, I think that's going to be it for the Dragonite this week. There's not much else I can tell you about Dragonite. We could have covered some special sets, but I think that the physical sets work a lot better anyway. Next week, as I said, I'm either covering Sceptile or Swampert. Tell me down in the comments now what you want to see, and I guess I'll see you next week, guys. Thank you for watching. I'll be seeing you next time. Check out all the other content on Lumiose. Goodbye, my friends.